What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss inferiority complexes. What are some of the reasons behind them and how they manifest themselves? Let's get into it.
Okay, he's my employee, and you shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up now. Go! There! I don't want to see your ugly face anymore. Make a sound, make a fucking orangutan moves. No, you can say that first. You're not an orangutan. You're not a cool guy. You're just an asshole, that's all. And I want you to leave right now. Now. Out of my office.
Mind you, this man is in jail talking to the police inside the jail.
Out of my office, you fucker. Now, leave, 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 leave. Leave!
You guys have seen the video of the white boy here in Kenya spitting, disrespecting, demeaning, throwing mucus and just saying all sorts of words to a Kenyan police officer in a Kenyan police station. In a Kenyan police station. In a Kenyan police station. In a Kenyan... Guys, for those who don't know how policing works here in Kenya, if I even think about doing that, not try, if I think about doing that, my story will be done and dusted and I'll disappear and you'll never see me here on this earth. I'll just be gone and I'll disappear. Boom, you'll never see me. Gone and I'll be done. I'll be done. But a white boy can be able to do that. A white boy can be able to do that because he knew very well that he is filled with white privilege and white superiority complex, and he knows the power of his white privilege and his white superiority complex, and he knows that us Africans, we have African inferiority complex, and he capitalized off of that.
Definitely. We definitely have an inferiority complex. That's why we got so much smoke for each other, but not nearly as much for others. You can see it manifest itself everywhere where you see black people, whether it's here in America, black people having black beef with each other. You can see that in Africa, in South Africa, where the South Africans have more smoke for the Nigerians than the white people that rule the country. It's like that everywhere.
There is a link between what someone thinks of themselves, what someone thinks of their people, and their history. Now, scholars talk about personal esteem, that means self-esteem, and then you have interpersonal or group esteem, which is what you think of your group or what you think of your race, racial esteem. Self-esteem and racial esteem are not the same thing. Someone can have very high self-esteem where they think highly of themselves and very low racial esteem where they think very badly of other black people. And in truth, most black people have very high self-esteem and very low racial esteem. And that's one of the reasons why black people are prone to fight each other, prone to disagree with each other, prone to conflict with each other, because someone thinks very highly of themselves and someone thinks very lowly of their group. And what happens is, if people can call each other the N and the B words, they're really saying, I don't give a monkey's about the black race. They've really just said that their racial esteem is very, very low. But every black person usually has very high personal esteem. So if someone thinks highly of themselves and very lowly of their group, that is a recipe for fighting. That is a recipe for conflict.
Which is why he could do all those sorts of things to a Kenyan police officer in a Kenyan police station, because he knew he could get away with it and nothing will be done to him. Not even a finger will be laid on him. Now, I know the white boy has been detained. I know the white boy has been detained and for 14 days, and then we'll see what the judge will say after that. If you ask me, guys, knowing the justice system in this country, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. The white boy will be ultimately deported to Netherlands, and he will not go to a Kenyan prison. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that I'm very wrong, because if I'm in charge, let me just say that, if I'm in charge, I will throw that white boy to the most dingy, to the most brutal prison in this country.
Lock him up.
Oh, man.
Lock him up.
And that he will never ever see sunlight. He will never ever see sunlight to serve as an example to all these white people.
Africa is dangerous. Oh my God, don't visit Africa, you're going to die. But your people are here chilling. They're here chilling and enjoying their lives. No, don't visit Africa. Africa is very dangerous. Yeah.
Who live, tour, and work in Kenya, that we are not to be messed with, and that you are not above the law. This isn't your home. This is Africans' home. Africa is for the Africans. Africa is for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. Africa is for black people, those at home and those abroad. Africa is not for white people. Africa is not for Arabs. It's not for Indians. It's not for Chinese. It's not for... Africa is for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. Africa is for black people, here in the continent and abroad. I also want to say this. This special treatment that we give white people, white tourists, we give these Arabs, we give this Indian people, this special treatment that we give non-black people in this continent needs to stop. We can't give these non-black people first priority in Africa while we treat ourselves like second-class citizens in the countries that we pay taxes on. It doesn't make sense.
Not at all. And it's rampant. I've worked in many countries in Africa, and you'll always see that the white foreigners get treated with way more respect. They're questioned less. They're served first. It's rampant.
No, we can't give Europeans special treatment, yet they're the architects and they are the ones who colonized us. Not only these white people, we can't give all these non-black people who live, work, tour in this continent, we can't give them first priority and special treatment. Because for people who don't agree with me, let me ask you a question. When you go to Europe, will they treat you like a king or like a queen? If I, an African, if I go to the Netherlands where this stupid white boy comes from, will I be given special treatment? Will I be given first priority? If I go to China, if I go to Russia, if I go to Saudi Arabia or UAE, will I be given special treatment? The answer is no. So why are we giving them special treatment in our continent? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Us black men, we want to see natural hair. We're your natural pair, so we want to see your natural
What if I
hair.
don't care what black men want? What if I don't care what a man wants in general? What if I don't even like men?
Do you like men?
Not really.
Why not?
For these exact reasons. Black women shouldn't be choosing what hairstyle they want to wear because a black man says, I like natural hair. Because at the end of the day, if we look at the statistics, a lot of y'all tend to choose women without natural hair. Let's
Because,
be honest.
okay, look, if we have a field of 100 black women and 70 of them have fake hair and 30 of them have their hair natural, of course, most black men are going to choose ones with the fake hair because
I'm not talking
that's
about
what we
black
have to
women.
choose
I'm talking
from.
about the non-black women that y'all choose to be with.
I'm confused. She said black men choose non-black women who don't wear their natural hair. What group of non-black women typically don't wear their natural hair? I mean, yes, I know some of them wear wigs and extensions, but it seems like the majority of them wear their natural hair the majority of the time. And that's not the case with black women. And whether it's for a man or not, it's for yourself first. And my question is, why is it that so many black women wear their natural hair so rarely? And to me, it's an inferiority complex, and that's something black women need to acknowledge. And as far as black men, we need to acknowledge our role in this. If we want to see our women wearing their natural hair, then we need to highlight or provide platforms for women to wear their natural hair, because that's on us. The white man has his Blind Becky on movies, posters, and music videos, and TV and all of that. So if we want to see that, we need to promote it. And we need to, for one, own our own platforms. We don't own our music companies. We don't own the television companies. We don't own the studios. We don't own anything. And that prevents us from showcasing our women and our culture the way we want to see it. Instead, we got to rely on them showing us how they see us or how they want us to be seen.
Wait, what do you mean that's what y'all have to choose from? There's definitely a lot of women who wear their natural hair.
Y'all just tend to pay attention to women
don't.
that don't wear their natural hair.
I promise you. Let's go to Walmart. The campus is different because the campus, you guys are comfortable. You're around black people and all this. But when we go off the campus and more white areas or regular mixed areas, a lot of black women wear their hair in lace fronts and wigs and weaves and fake hair. I see it every day.
So in this video, I think it's in Ghana, where it's the rules that once a girl enters school, she has to cut her hair. She can't wear her hair long and grown out.
You don't love who you are, and you can only look pretty with buying like Brazilian hair, Indian hair, or something before you can be acceptable in society. We have a problem. You see these girls that are dancing. Yeah. The moment, the very hour they leave SS, they go buy Brazilian hair. If you meet 10 people today, 9 have some kind of hair on. That is the sad part for me as a mother and as a woman, and for me as a leader of a nation. When I was back in the US, I'd see the Chinese people, their hair, doesn't matter how their hair look, their face, they are still confident as people. When are we going to have that confidence as Africans? When are we going to realize that our hair, the braiding of her hair in school is part of life? That the girl, when she comes home and goes to work, would have to worry about her hair and how she goes to work with her hair. So learning how to maintain your hair in school and being part of going to school and learning and being able to braid your hair before classes, they are all parts of life. That the people who write the book that we study in school, they don't have to go through this. Why won't we come to the understanding that we have failed?
Yeah, the light skinned you are, the better you are, more hair. This is my normal skin tone. I had to evolve to this, and I want more. Because the more lighter I am, the more beautiful I am.
Habiba is a self-described slay queen, infamous for dating senior politicians. Habiba says she now recruits consenting young women for rich men and uses social media to promote herself.
Thank you so much for tuning in, Bona. Really,
on her own podcast.
If I both take them and present them to men, they will give her small money, they will give her more money. So she dreams to be like her. Her dream is to be more like her.
So you would like to be like her?
Yes, like life is at the top. Yeah, the light skinned you are, the better you are, more hair, and she can express herself better in English, and she's exposed to the city life. She's original from the village, but she managed to adopt to city life, and this one is like hardcore village township girl. The reality is that the lighter you are, the more beautiful you are.
Every time I see someone bleaching their skin, it looks like either they look like a ghost, they look like a corpse, or they look like a burn victim. Like, it never looks good regardless of the complexion.
The more value you get, unfortunately.
Skin bleaching is extremely dangerous.
So you had bleached your skin because you believed it would give you greater value and a greater chance of
More
making money.
opportunities, and it did.
But don't you think that's incredibly sad and harmful, and a harmful example?
What can we do? Because even social media will display women who are more light-skinned as if they're more beautiful. Women who can present themselves well, they're more beautiful. If I'm not wearing this high heel and this nice dress, I will look ghetto. And I will get less money. I will attract a different audience.
I can't say that she's wrong. Not that lighter skin is more attractive, and definitely not in my eyes. But there are social benefits. And it's crazy we live in a world where dark skin is considered ugly. I don't think we study and understand the power of melanin. That's not something that we as a collective really appreciate.
Back in 1969, the Black Caucus in the American Psychiatric Association, we had said that racism, and when we talk about racism, we're talking about the white supremacy behavior of white people. That racism was the #1 mental health problem in the nation, and it was the #1 cause of other mental health problems. And I wanted to understand what this thing of racism really is all about, because it is the thing that has caused woe and misery and suffering for the vast majority of the people on this planet that are classified as non-white. And in my attempt to understand why the necessity of white people to keep saying that white is superior and that the condition of non-white is inferior. And the more I thought about it, in conjunction with an idea that a friend of mine had, that racism was a worldwide behavioral system for the maintenance of white supremacy by a small minority of people, I put those ideas together with what we know about genetics, what we know about the condition of skin whiteness itself. The condition of skin whiteness is the genetic inability to produce skin pigment called melanin. This is a genetic recessive trait. It is a genetic deficiency state, not as defined by Francis Welsing, but defined by geneticists and dermatologists, that the inability to produce the skin pigment of melanin or melanin pigment is described as albinism. And I think that white people, even though most white people are not consciously understanding their problem in genetics, they are certainly aware that they are genetically dominated by people of color. That's why it was a statement, one drop of black blood makes you black, because people of color have the genetic capacity to annihilate white people. And so unless white people control the reproductivity of people of color, then we can postulate that perhaps one day there won't be any white people. And I think that the very survival of white people necessitates that they project genetic inferiority on people of color, because it is they who really are aware that they are genetic recessive and perhaps genetically inferior to people of color.
So somebody that can't go in the sun without sunscreen, man, your opinion don't even matter to me, man. God don't even fuck with you that much.
And I am not saying this to call the condition of skin whiteness to say, well, no, white people are inferior. I'm not saying it for that purpose, but I think that it is of prime importance for the majority of people in the world to understand why it is that white people have to, the effective majority, large numbers of white people, have to move in a hostile, in an aggressive way against people of color and have to constantly focus on it's you who's genetically inferior because they realize that there's something wrong with their genetic status.
Africa is the cradle of humanity. Once the cradle was placed in Africa, it never left.
In Africa and Africa alone is where you can find in the fossil record an unbroken sequence of human evolution from the first type 4 million years ago all the way up to the advanced and latest type Homo sapiens sapiens. Evidence of fossils of Homo sapiens sapiens, modern human beings in Africa, at least 130 to 140,000 years old. There are no fossils of that age of Homo sapiens sapiens anywhere else in the world. Modern human beings, all of us in this room, all 5.5 billion of us on this planet, appears first somewhere about 200,000 years ago in East Africa. So this is the reason why, if you're talking about an anthropological Garden of Eden, it is Africa and it cannot be anywhere else.
Modern humans, or Homo sapiens sapiens, began leaving Africa about 40,000 years ago, moving into Europe. It is this process of migration and adaptation to different environments that led to the development of various racial groups.
In Africa, the melanin in the skin screens out most of the ultraviolet light, but there's so much sunlight, so much of the time, that enough penetrates the melanin barrier for the needs of the skin to produce vitamin D. Not a problem. Different now when you go up into Europe.
It was as Homo sapiens moved into Europe during the last ice age, which lasted for about 100,000 years, that these physical traits began to change.
All of a sudden it's cold, overcast, very little sun.
The challenging environmental conditions in Europe encouraged evolutionary changes, leading to the gradual development of lighter skin.
What does white skin do? Well, in Africa, it kills you, literally, because you cannot literally stand the sun. I might add one other thing about warm adaptation and the so-called Negroid, quote-unquote, facies or facial morphology. We talked about the necessity to lose heat. Well, where do you lose most of your heat from? Mostly from your head. 85% of the heat loss comes from the head, which is why we have kinky hair, particularly peppercorn hair. What does it do? Exposes more of the scalp to the environment. You can lose heat better that way. Why do we tend to have thick lips? It increases the surface area of the face, improves heat loss. Why do we have broad flaring nostrils? Tendency. Why? Because it allows greater movement of air, and you have to understand you don't lose just moisture from the skin, you also lose moisture from the lungs. So all of these are heat adaptations to a hot environment. Absolute opposite in Europe. You have adaptations to a cold environment, an icy environment. White skin being the first and certainly the most distinctive aspect of that, which improves vitamin D utilization and cold resistance. But narrowed nose, what does it do? It warms inspired air. Thin lips, narrowed features, reduces the surface area of the face. Hair that lays down on the back of your shoulders, it retains heat on your head. So in other words, all of these adaptations are due to basically adaptation in a cold, icy, frigid environment. The Mongoloid underwent a similar adaptation. But in addition, the epicanthal folds would have been accentuated in order to protect the face, the eyes against the winds, and also the warm air of the face. The stockiness of body that is characteristic of Orientals or Asiatics, again, what does that do? It retains heat, as does the straight hair. And as Shekhar Diop suggested,
these three racial groups, the black, white, and yellow, existed during the last glaciation. Archaeological findings suggest that 32,000 years ago, there was a single homogeneous humanity, which was Negroid.
And the way to raise people's racial esteem is to introduce them to their history. And if the history happens to be a great history, a history that people objectively can be proud of, they will see their people in a very different way to how they see their people at present. And that's the difference between high self-esteem, low racial esteem, to having a balance where you have high self-esteem and high racial or ethnic esteem.
This is the first time I would say I am really, really proud of my ancestors because they left nothing behind, nothing at all. I've traveled the world as a black man and I have never seen a black country where the people who live in it are foreigners that were brought there by blacks as slaves. Not one single country. Yet the black race has more countries on earth than any other country. 54 are on the continent. 13 black countries in the Caribbean. So 68 black countries. There's not a single black country where slaves were bought from outside by black people. I've traveled the world. Not a single country in the world colonized by a black country. There's nowhere you go on Mother Earth where the language they are speaking was imposed on them by force by a black country. I've traveled the world and I have never seen a religion that is imposed upon anybody anywhere in this world by a black country. The 68 black countries in the world, the largest continent by number of countries, not a single one of them has a nuclear weapon of mass destruction. Black countries across the world, none of them is responsible for what we call the military complex. Where we are manufacturing dirty bombs and sending things into the water to pollute people. I've traveled the world and I'm yet to see one product that was forced to be sold in another country by a black country. So it means the black race is the only race on earth that represents what the United Nations have been looking for the last 100 years. Peace. Yes, we fought internal wars just like anybody, and that is all we did. Therefore, in my travels, there was no place I went on earth where the people there pointed fingers at me and say, your people did this to me. Never. The black person is the only one who travels this earth and no one who point a finger. That's what my ancestors left behind. Nothing.
Holy shit.
They like to paint us as violent, and we're associated as being the most violent people on earth, when really we're the most peaceful. We're the most peaceful people on earth. Too peaceful, if you ask me. I need us to wake up and realize who we are so that we can get back to this.
We enter the historical period, which is characterized by the advent of writing. Once again, Africa, specifically Egypt, was ahead of the rest of the world.
The impact on mathematics was immense. The Africans developed highly advanced astronomy and mathematics. The second of time is African. The division of the day into exactly 24 hours is African. The division of the week into the names of the week. The names of the days of the week are African. The decision to start the day at midnight is African.
The ancient Egyptians in the Pyramid Age 6,000 years ago knew that the world was round. They knew that it went around the sun in 365 and 1/4 days.
The Babylonian calendar only had 365 days. It was wrong. It was the African in Egypt who created the first accurate calendar, 365 and 1/4 days. That is very exact.
They measured the circumference of the earth and they calculated it so accurately until modern astronomers said their error was only 1 yard. The Greeks, who were supposed to have been the founders of civilization because they were the first civilized white folks. But the Greeks got their civilization from the Egyptians, and the Egyptians were black people.
These were all black people, goddamn! Wait a minute! This ain't nothing in here about whitey! This is ours, Jack! Wait till the brothers hear this!
The impact of Egypt on Greece, which means the impact of early African civilization on European civilization, was profound.
Alright, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you're rocking with me this far, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, peace.